And we are streaming, right?
You're good.
Okay, we are streaming. Can folks hear me? Thanks, Sean.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. That was not my normal day. Thanks, everybody. Maybe I'll take this background off and see if people can see the snowfall out my window. You can see a little snow there. It's not lit very well, but okay. So we need Kathy and Heather and Peter.
Happy first day, Natalie.
You.
Okay, the Design Steering Committee is live on Cisco WebEx. So I just texted Heather from the staff, as well as Kathy Barber, Norina Melita, and Peter Hubbard.
Hi, everybody.
Does that, hi, Kathy, do you guys know if Norina usually calls in at lunchtime? Because I could resend her. Oh, I bet that's her.
She usually calls in.
Hi,
Is that you,
Norina.
Norina?
Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
It's Noreen. Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I didn't see the emails yesterday. I didn't get notifications, and that's why I logged in the design committee at noon, and I was like, what is going on? And then I checked the email, and I was like, holy crap, I totally missed those other emails. So I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It was all pretty quick. So, but what we did do at the last meeting was approve the low bid for the evaporative cooler by a 6-0 vote, and then also 6-0 decided to take the alternate, which was to do it in stainless steel rather than galvanized, because basically the prep time is less, so we'll have air conditioning sooner most likely, and the life is thought to be longer. So
Okay. All right. Thanks for the recap. I did see the email, so I kind of then later knew what it was about, but obviously I didn't vote. So thanks for letting me know.
okay, you if you had been there and voted against it, it still would have won. So you know, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you voted for it, it still would have won. So
Right. So, okay.
All right. So, what do you have for us today, Megan?
I just had some site furniture because I thought spring was around the corner, but it's currently snowing up a storm right now. So I'm confused about seasons. But regardless, we're moving ahead towards good weather. And given production timelines and such, I thought we should try to make our final decisions. As at the last board meeting, we presented our budget for site furniture and amenities. So now we need to finalize our selections and get things ordered.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So we're not approving a budget or anything because we already did that at the board meeting. It's up $50,000. So
Yes.
like we don't have to spend $50,000, but we could spend that much. All right. So
We've got a few different areas that we wanted to look at site furniture for. One was that new plaza outside of the Telecentha room so that there could be some overflow from programming, although it's a little bit noisy with Western Ave, but also just nice seating area for folks coming from the parking lots into the building and back out again. Outside the cafe area, we have a plaza that will need some seating and sun shading. And then we have our sidewalk that leads to the addition and the butterfly garden at the east side of the property. And then also the existing plaza, reading plaza at the rear of the building. So as we previously discussed, everyone liked this planter bench for that triangular plaza outside of the Telecentha room. And this was sort of our first approved item. So I've sent Tim the purchase order for this. We can get this one moving. So it's expensive, but it's large, so it should be beneficial. The one note that Accent Furniture, who's going to coordinate the installation, wanted to point out that they're not going to fill it with plants and dirt. That's on the library to do that. They said that's beyond their scope of expertise.
So that raises a good question, though, which is, and we may not be able to solve it right now, but would it be permissible for us to set aside some money for landscaping beyond what we've already spent?
I think so. We do have some additional landscaping coming in this spring that's been approved. We just sort of missed the good weather for it, so we'll have that. But we could certainly set aside some additional funds to fill this. And we were going to talk about replacing the edging at the rear reading plaza because some of it is askew. And if we want to make it a nice patron space and staff space, we don't want any trip hazards or sharp angles. So we can potentially roll that in with that additional work from the landscapers, filling this and any other things we find. Sorry.
And just a quick question. Where exactly would this bench be located again? Could you show it on your map?
Absolutely. So right here, if you can see my cursor, we located here in this. We stood there, Vanessa, Kathy, Tim, and myself, for a while discussing what would be appropriate seating here. And we thought, given the road noise from Western Ave, we're seeing this more as like a short-term seating area than a long-term seating area, just for the comfort factor. We want to be able to offer amenities for seating, but we thought we wanted to do some of the nicer things in the quieter spots that are a little more recessed. So this was sort of a nice focal point to soften all that concrete work and engage a little bit more nature and to provide a nice, unique seating space.
So this is in the, am I looking at it correctly? It's in the back of the building then?
At the front of the building by Western Ave, right where the stairs go up to the upper level parking lot, it would be on that concrete plaza.
yes, and like
Okay,
Megan
from the
mentioned,
lower lot to
Vanessa
the
and
upper
I
lot.
went and looked at it and thought that they agreed with Megan that the concrete was kind of needed something needed something more attractive than just an expanse of concrete.
Do you understand where we're locating it, Miss Barber?
I'm still having difficulties now where your cursor was not, so we're talking, if you went to the left on the screen, that's the front door, front entrance?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the front entrance.
It's right outside the boardroom.
Okay,
The boardroom or the Telecentha room is right here.
Yeah.
okay. I just couldn't picture the area with something that large.
It's a little deceiving. The planter portion is 14 inches, or sorry, that's wrong, 48 inches in diameter. And then the bench is 18 inches deep.
Okay.
I think the picture just has a lot of other plantings and benches.
So it looks more massive.
Right, exactly.
And also the scale of their pavers are very small, whereas ours are 4 or 5 feet wide. So ours is, I think it's the right proportion for our space. This photo doesn't really do the proportions justice for our application, but
Okay.
it's a nice piece that I think will serve sort of the duality of softening that space and giving some nice seating that people, I don't think anyone's going to resist wanting to sit there, at least for a few moments. The other area at the front of the building is our new plaza that's outside the cafe. This, where my cursor is the exterior door from the cafe space, or the Norman Skill Room out. It's about 20 feet long and a little over 10 feet deep. So we had talked about doing potentially 2 tables that would seat 4 out here. There's a few different options for how they get installed. They can be mobile, adjustable location, or surface mounted. My thought for this front, first view area is that we would want those to be surface mounted, not flexible or adjustable, so that folks don't help themselves and move them out of the way, or just help themselves to them in general, which I don't know why anyone would, but just to be safe. There's also the options for keeping one of these bench seats off along with the arm and having it be an ADA accessible table. So I thought if we were doing 2 in this location, do 1 with 4 benches and 1 with 3, so that way you have the ADA friendly location, or even just stroller friendly for a parent with a child in a stroller.
I like that thought, and I like the idea of surface mounting so they don't move. They look very heavy, but I have seen so many crazy wind events here in the last couple of years, including this last couple days. I like to bolt them down. And the other thing is, even though we have not had much problem with this, if they don't bolt down, they can be a potential target for teenage hooligans. I'm now old enough to say teenage hooligans, so.
It just seems like a better safe than sorry in this application to bolt them down.
Making the dark red wood to the right there.
Yeah.
Is that the new, what do you
That's
call
a small addition for the sprinkler, for the water service and the sprinkler.
pump station or whatever you call it?
So it steps back a little bit, which is why we ended our concrete there.
It's a water closet, but not in the European sense.
Megan, have you, is that the color that you were thinking, or is that just a color that is an example?
That was the color in the image. I think on a later slide, or if not, I'll bring it in. There's a few different color options. My suggestion, after looking at them and the various vendors and trying to coordinate things, is that we either do black, which is a little bit boring, or maybe like a dark, like a forest green color, which is hopefully concealing enough over the duration, but still a little pop of color.
That sounds a little bit better to me than black, but
Me
A little less industrial, but still not a bold color that
right.
I now that I think about it, I saved the image and I didn't put it into my PowerPoint because that would be too easy. So these are their colors. I liked the light blue as a color, but then I thought over time maybe it's too much of a statement. But we'll have to.
Yeah, I like the dark green too.
Yeah, me too.
It's timeless. It always looks lovely with the brick. The other thing we discussed at our last meeting was a canopy or awning versus like a tensile canopy structure that I had proposed. I did more research on the awnings, and to not have a diagonal arm, the furthest the canopies that I researched could extend was 10 feet, which would put it just near the end of our patio or plaza location. However, we can't mount the awning to this white limestone course. Those panels are more decorative than structural. So we'd have to start at the brick level, which is at about 10 feet. So given the pitch, we may have a head height issue or just a attractive nuisance, like for those hooligans that were coming down to about 8 foot on the outside corners.
Ooh.
Which obviously doesn't have a head clearance issue, but it's just heavy overhead and just attractive to maybe want to touch if you're a teenager.
Yeah. So
Make-
that means we go with the sale based on that, right?
Yes, I'm still waiting for the final information on that, which is funny because the rep lives in Guilderland, but that's a different story. But to try to do something where we can anchor 2 corners to the building and maybe have 2 posts on the outside corners of the plaza or concrete areas to create some sun shading. Sorry, was someone asking me a question? I apologize if I cut someone off.
I was just gonna say, we eliminated the table that would have an umbrella in the middle that could be tilted as the sun rotated, right? Because we thought that was too maintenance intensive.
These tables come with a hole for an umbrella, so if you did it in the future, that would be your call.
But why are we not doing that versus a sale? Is it because we were afraid of the maintenance?
Yes, and sort of the liability of flying umbrellas when in a windstorm.
There's also a potential theft issue, isn't there?
Yes, unless there's a way to bolt them. I guess there would probably be similar to bolting the table down. There must be a bolt component for an umbrella. I can ask the rep about that if they've got a lock mechanism for umbrellas.
Honestly, you know, Barbara, I'm not trying to pick on you in any way, but if you think of the weather the last couple days, I wouldn't want an umbrella out there, you know. That's just me, but and I don't vote, but the frequency with which we replace umbrellas at home scares me when I think about umbrellas at the library.
And the sale has a good track record with the wind.
It does, and I'm trying to coordinate either like a letter of recommendation or a site visit over to Regeneron out in the East Greenbush area, who's had one of these canopy sale canopies installed for, I believe, 1.5 or 2 years now. So they've weathered it and seen it perform.
Even just a photo would be, you know, fun if you have one. So
My niece actually goes to that daycare now, so I can maybe finagle that officially or unofficially.
now that I have an assistant director, I expect to be taking field trips to see umbrellas instead of working my tail off, right, Natalie? So.
All right, so just so that we can start getting these things ordered, their lead times right now for tables like this are 4 to 8 weeks. So we'd love to get them ordered and installed before summer season, get them in as soon as possible. Is the approach to do one table with 4 benches and then the second table with 3 the direction that the committee would like to go, or do 2 with 3, or any configuration? Just let me know what you'd like to do.
That sounds good to me.
Me too.
And I like the forest green, so I'm fine with it. Having that type of table and 1 4 bench and 1 3 bench. Sounds good.
Okay.
Are we only talking the 2 tables?
For right now, out here, yes.
I think there would probably be furniture inside at some point as well.
Tables and chairs inside, yes.
Mhm.
There's also a couple of benches just outside the picture here that are by the Little Free Library. So there's, in my opinion, going to be sort of and there's two benches on the front porch, and then there's the round planter on the outside the Tawa Center room. So there's, I gotta say, once you're done here, probably about 30 seats in front of the library would be my guess, you know. There'd be 7 here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then however many can fit around that planter, you know.
Well, we had also talked about adding some benches along the long face of the building, along that sidewalk that leads
Yeah,
to
there you
the
go.
corner. We talked about doing potentially some small backless benches, or we could do some more traditional benches. The lead time for this lovely short backless one is 25 weeks. I don't know why they're so special. Whereas this traditional backed one is a 4-week lead time. I don't know what they're doing to me, but
That one for if people want to sit and read is going to be a heck of a lot more comfortable.
it is.
I agree.
That's why I figured it wouldn't be it's different than what we were talking about, but it's a nice bench and would certainly be suitable for long sitting.
I forget how many benches were we thinking?
We were talking about ordering like a quantity of 5 for the front area, and then so that we could do along like 2 or 3 along the building, and then potentially 2 at the butterfly garden area where that photo was just taken from. But we were also going to play a little bit by ear and say, oh, you know, as the spring comes, is this so spectacular that we want 3 there and only 2 along the building? But we were sort of had a placeholder for 5. As we were
Over the course of our 20 years, have people really sat in front of the building all that much? I could see them sitting in the shaded area along the children's area there, or, you know, back where our traditional original area in the back there was, but
Mhm.
I can't see that many people sitting in the front looking at the traffic on Route 20.
Well, you
blazing
almost be looking
sun.
at the retaining wall for the upper level parking lot. I think the thought for putting a bench or more there was to make it look a little bit more engaging, so that if people are going to wander, that they feel welcome and invited. And you know, if a parent wants to stop while their child is, you know, following butterflies anywhere, they don't have to go all the way into the corner if they don't want to. But again, that's why we said 5 was the placeholder, and we could sort of walk around and do a final location assessment when they were ready to be installed. Because we stood there in December. It's going to feel a little different when we're there in the spring if this snow ever goes away.
So Barbara, I don't want to, you know, argue, but I think the one way you could answer your question there would be that we're sort of trying to create the same atmosphere in the front that we already have in the back, you know. If they're, you know, I do believe we're going to be successful in getting a cafe going, and you know, if you have 5 or 6 people that have come to pick up a snack or lunch, they'll be sitting out there, you know. I think that the benches we have out front now are used. Like when the weather's good, it's not uncommon to see people sitting out there. So my instinct tells me that, you know, more benches would be used by more people. Although to sort of support what you're saying, maybe we are going a little far, you know, maybe 30 people aren't going to sit out there at once. But do you need them all at once? You know, if there's 10 or 12 people seated there at lunchtime, let's give them plenty of options for spreading out kind of thing, you know. I don't know. I see what you're saying, but I think they're going to be used is kind of where I'm at.
Or I think you want to create the opportunity for more folks that maybe don't necessarily want to go into the building to go to your rear plaza space, but just sort of come take advantage of a nice spot, the Wi-Fi, so they don't have to sit in their car and you know, be part of the community without being fully engaged by walking through the building.
I had this memory the other day when we were first closed in 2020. I came over to the library for something, and there used to be a giant tree right outside the Helderberg room, a giant pine, or maybe it was like 3 pines. And I saw a lady sitting in there with her laptop because our Wi-Fi was on, you know. And God forbid if we go through another lockdown, we would have 30 seats where people could sit there and use Wi-Fi outside the library, you know.
Natalie,
Can I just ask, is there a possibility to put a bench with a table in the butterfly garden or a couple? Because maybe people would, I think someone was saying may want to eat lunch and it's easier if you have a table or even when you're reading on, to put your book on. Is that an option?
Or even
Or a
use a
laptop,
laptop,
too.
laptop
Right,
out
for a
there.
laptop too, right?
there's a little bit of topography. There's not a lot of flat space there because we're trying to capture all of the drainage. Everything is higher around this end of the building. So we're trying to direct everything towards that little retainage pond that then empties out again. So unless we change the grading, there's not a great flat spot to put a table. But then again, that was this year before the winter, so things may have leveled out. We can certainly walk there one more time and look and see if things are sort of flattening out with the evolution of the seasons. They regraded everything there, so it should be fairly stable, but it may have the way water moves on flattened out spots, and we can look at that. Or that might be.
Or you can flatten out a spot. I mean, that's easily enough done.
I just don't want to mess with the drainage because we don't want standing water. Before this photo was taken, when it was earlier in the year, we had like sort of a swale and sort of standing water before all the grass grew in and helped to direct it. So I wouldn't want to interrupt the flow of water.
So Megan, just so I'm clear, the 5 of these benches with backs is what you're thinking? A couple of them in front of the building and then a couple of them on the side?
Yes.
And you were thinking all of them having backs on the benches at this point, or just were you thinking of? I know the lead time was long for the non-back one, because we had thought about that for just people sort of waiting for a ride or something like in front of the building, something like that.
Which is what you have right now, the backless ones that are sort of the short timelines for.
So we would be buying 5 of the ones with backs just for
longer sitting.
Yeah, for putting them around, and especially in the nice area in the back that's away from the road.
Yes.
That when Vanessa and I walked around there, I know that it seemed like a pretty pleasant area that people might want to sit. I'm not sure if a table would be needed. I mean, people seem to manage okay. Sometimes if they want a sack lunch or something, or they have a laptop, but so, and it's looks like a nice sturdy bench.
Yeah, I think I agree with the back of the bench. I'm looking just quickly online, and there are benches that are metal that are outdoors that have like an adjustable middle part where you could lift it and put like, a laptop, say, on there. So you don't need a table. It would just be an adjustable little piece that goes to the bench. Just a thought. I mean, they don't seem pricey online, but
Oh, what company are you looking at? I hadn't seen that feature from some.
it's on Home Depot right now. It's $186.99 for one. It's metal. Let me see. 2-person black frame metal outdoor patio garden bench adjustable center table. It says. So it's actually part of the bench itself that lifts up. And then you could put it back down if you want it to be like a full bench.
Oh, that's neat.
That's certainly a heck of a lot cheaper than $900. I wonder about the quality.
Well, I mean, I don't know the quality, right? I'm sure Megan probably knows better.
Yeah, the ones that I was proposing were, they've got the high grade paint finish on them, and they've got a 7-year warranty on them.
Yes, I mean, this is just a patio bench from Home Depot. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of the
table option, perhaps you could find a high grade bench
I
that
can look
has
into
an.
that. I hadn't seen them on the websites I've been looking at, but now I actually have a rep that's been answering questions, so I can ask her specifically about that.
Okay,
Because that'd be a
thanks.
neat feature, or even just some sort of an arm
Like
or something.
side, like a side something where you could put your laptop, but the middle one seems nice. I like.
Or you could even put your coffee while you're
Right.
eating your sandwich.
Right.
Almost like, on the old fashioned kids' desks where you could pull up from the arm and you could pull up like a side piece.
Yeah, like a tablet arm sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how often that would be used, because I'm not sure that going that route. I know that people want coffee or whatever, but I mean, I just think maybe like doing all this accommodating. I don't know if maybe people just want to just sit there and read a book. It is a library after all, so you know, I'm
Well,
not
yeah,
I'm not
if
quite
you-
sure that what you're proposing is something that is really like if something pulls up and then pulls down and pulls up and pulls down and it's used and it's outdoors for a long time, and I'm just not sure of the durability of a feature like that, and if it would be like really used enough to justify it. I'm just, just I mean, I don't know specifically, but I just feel like this having a nice bench that is good quality might be the way to go, and people can figure it out. If they have coffee or if they have a laptop, they can usually figure it out.
Well, I think if Megan can find something along those lines, you just one or two of them, make it convenient for people. You wouldn't have to have all of them that way, but particularly, if we could find a flat spot in the back area there, maybe we can, maybe we can't, but it's at least if you can look into it.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, just to have an option, with a laptop, it's actually easier if you don't hold it on your lap because you're, hunched over. But
Right.
We're gonna have to charge the IT department with making sure the Wi-Fi comes out this far.
Yeah.
They thought I was done giving them challenging tasks. Okay, so let me see what I can find. And if I can't find something of the similar quality and warranty level, we'll move ahead with these, but I'll do my best to find that option. Moving to the original reading plaza, the lovely rear gardens, we were talking about doing some upgrades and replacements of what is currently there. We were talking about there's the built-in benches along those curved sitting walls. Those are going to remain and potentially in the future get refinished as they have in the past. I wasn't able to find a company that makes those pieces to do a quick, easy swap out, unfortunately. But obviously, we've got benches that we can upgrade if you don't want to keep these teak ones that require more maintenance, every other year or two refinishing, or we can supplement those with some metal ones so that people have options, or if some are cycled out for updating, you've got other seating options. And then we also have, again, the table options to consider. And for tables, right now there's this trellis area. This is an older photo. I think right now there's a big picnic table under this trellis. And the comments we were hearing was that it's sort of too big for that space. It's hard to move, and it's sort of, if one person is sitting at it, then there's not a lot of ability for other folks to sit at a table. So we were talking about doing smaller tables, which would bring us back to something similar to the ones we were looking at for the front of the building. We do have the option in this case to do the mounted ones or the mobile ones. The mobile ones that can be relocated are a little less attractive because they've got the limbs sort of on them, but they certainly allow folks to reposition them as they see fit. And they do have the option of removing a segment for ADA accessibility. Or in the case of like the square ones, if you had the section removed, you could butt them together and make a larger table if you wanted to, if you had two that had the benches removed. So we
So, how's that area typically used? Is it usually like for like, do employees eat their lunch back there? Are
There's
there
a lot of
programs in
there's a lot of
usual times?
I know that there's been a lot of programs out there pre-COVID. I know that even throughout COVID, staff has used it for lunch breaks, and there's always a good patron usage just to sit out and enjoy the nice space. So we've got all the different components happening there.
It's really rather popular in good weather. And at, a certain time of the year, people are like, when are you going to open the garden? When are you going to? And it's also more visible now in the renovation, in part because of better window coverings that lead out to it, and in part because there's less furniture in the way for people to see it. So I think it's a real highlight of the library. I think it's heavily used.
So in terms of programming,
Okay.
wouldn't it be better to have tables that could be moved depending on what your programming needs are? Is that, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really know what you typically do back there.
So we
So-
haven't, as you know, done much of anything in the last 3 years or so, but the kinds of programs that I can remember there, we used to have a family fun day where you did need a fair amount of open space because you had, different stations for games to be played and so forth. And then this is where we typically have the llamas come, and that you need a fair amount of open space as well. But whenever you have that open space, like when the llamas have come and there's 300 people back there, there's usually a bunch of people my age and above who are looking for a place to sit down while all the kids are, enjoying the llamas. So whatever the design is, I would just say leave some stretches of open space. But I don't think you would ever have a program there where you kind of wanted rows of seating. I mean, I suppose theoretically that's possible for a concert or a speaker, but we just haven't done that in a long time, if ever, in my 8 years. I don't know, Natalie, if you remember from your growing up anything like that over here, but or if Brianna or Lou remembers other programs that we've done back there. But
We did the Mardi Gras concert out there a couple years ago, Jocelyn's, and we had a little bit of seating right where that the pergola is. So I think if as long as this brick area is kind of movable furniture for programs, that's good. And I don't know if you can put the permanent seating on the grass, because that's fine, because that usually doesn't get involved into programs.
mhm.
So just in terms of tables, would it be better for them to be movable and not fixed?
Yeah.
I would think so. What do you think, Brianna?
Yeah, I think so. Especially on this kind of brick, because then it's really, you can use it for anything. We've had parades that have marched around.
So round or square tables, the ability to butt them up to one another, or is round more attractive?
A mix. Sometimes we have staff meetings out there, department meetings, and we do like to have that big table. Maybe a couple of the square ones that can be shoved together. Also programs can happen with that.
Is there a benefit then to going back to the picnic table style rather than doing just like a four-sided option that you can seat more people at?
A picnic table, you say, as like a standard rectangular picnic table?
Yes, but like a lot, we can do like I'm sorry, I just inadvertently scrolled. This sort of same metal material and function and have an ADA accessible end and such.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like personally, I like circles better, but if you're trying to stack them or get them out of the way, um, right angles are probably going to be a lot better, you know?
Brianna, you probably are out there the most. Is a rectangle a good idea? Or I'm wondering like maybe two rectangular tables here and then a round one in that back corner beyond where we actually can see. That's a nice corner, and maybe one other round somewhere
Yeah,
else
I
that's
think so. I
flexible.
think the mix is, yeah, I think the mix makes it more flexible.
The mix is good too. Like I'm not a designer, but there's a lot of right angles out there and there's also a lot of curves, you know? Man, it's really snowing. We must have like an inch out here.
Yeah, I thought we were done with this. Wasn't it just 68 degrees the other day?
We've got an inch and a half, 2 inches outside my window. Yes, it was maybe 68 in the exotic land of Ballston Spa. It was 65 that I knew of down here in Guilderland, but oh well. So
I got photos of my children skiing without jackets on.
yeah, my son did too. I
Green
drank
color.
beer in the lodge without a jacket on.
Are we on the same page to do green metal for these tables as well? Just as a quick side.
I think that makes sense, doesn't it, to carry the colors from the front to the back?
I think so. However, if we did like that strap bench that we were talking about before, that only comes in black.
That's fine.
Just to throw a wrench into it, because nothing for me is ever perfect and simple and straightforward. This is that back corner I was talking about putting a round table. I know we're still not, it's far out in the photo, but
Yeah, that's a good corner. That's a
good
spot where staff often eat lunch. It's a nice sunny spot. And then when it's not lunchtime, you find patrons out there too.
And now we've bought the IT office shades so they don't have to have boxes in their windows.
Megan, when we were touring with Barbara or with Kathy and Vanessa, we talked a little bit about the bench that encircles the tree there.
Yes.
And we're thinking about replacing it, but I think we're bumping up against our budget here. Any current thoughts on that?
I thought the end result was we could tolerate it longer if it was just actually centered around the tree.
Okay, we can handle that. Yeah, and then did you refer earlier in this meeting to potentially replacing the seats on all these long curved benches?
I had looked into it as I had promised to. There isn't a company that we can just do a straightforward replacement because of the angles,
Mm-hmm.
the curvature, I should say. So it might be something to go to a local woodworker or that company whose name escapes me that Brianna, you referenced that provided some of these like the polywood materials that are local. They also provided the shed recently. They might have the
I
ability
forget to.
to shape those. It's like
Amish is in it, I think.
it's I don't know. My
Are
brain.
we getting any single chairs in the back here?
Dutch country connections.
That sounds
Yeah,
right.
that's our Amish company in town.
Oh, we can. You tell me.
Oh, I think we need to definitely get some single chairs. Everyone loves those Adirondack ones.
So add more
Yeah.
Adirondack chairs from Dutch Country Connections so that they sort of be responsible for them or hopeful discounting and future replacement possibilities.
Yeah, single chairs are good. They also give you a lot of flexibility for meetings and for, the way patrons use it. Sometimes it's 5 kids getting together instead of 4, that kind of thing. So,
So the Adirondack style to expand on, since you've already got 2 out there, I believe, or potentially more.
that works for me. My only problem with the Adirondack style is they sort of have a larger footprint and are sometimes a little bulkier and heavier than a simpler chair. But like when we do go out for a meeting of some kind, the simple right angle straight back chairs are the last ones that anyone takes, in my experience. Does that make sense to you, Brianna?
So how many Adirondack chairs would we want to add?
I'd say at least 5 or 6. What do you think, Brianna?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
I do kind of like this little Adirondack bench too.
Yeah, I like that
Nice.
too.
It's cute. It's from Dutch Country Connections.
I haven't been keeping track, so how's our budget doing? I know
Um,
the sale was pretty expensive too.
The sale was expensive and the planter was expensive. So those were our two big ticket items. And then we were going to sort of fill in or back into that $50,000 budget. So now that I've got more quantities and direction about mounting versus the movable tables and such, let me go back to the rep, get some updated pricing, and maybe I'll just sort of email it out to the committee. Here's where we are with pricing. And then if there's any open questions, we can do like a quick recap meeting. Otherwise, I'll try to get everything after the email and maybe some email approval ordered so that we can be right on time for the spring and summer season. Does that sound okay?
You know, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but if we're not going to have air conditioning, we'll have great seating outside.
Now maybe you'll have
We'll
everything.
have it by June now.
Yeah, good decision in my opinion.
Well, the lead time on the production is also improved dramatically, so that's good. For the evaporative cooler.
Good.
All right, that was all I had for today. One other small thing was I do have a proposal from Cloverleaf Nurseries, which I'm not sure if we reviewed previously, to replace that metal edging at the landscaped beds where the red line is.
Mhm.
There's existing metal edging there, but just over the past 20 plus years with settling and expansion, a few of the pieces have become askew, and so they're sticking out or they're absent. So we wanted to replace that. I know Vanessa was hoping for me to find something more aesthetically attractive, but in terms of durability, lifespan, and cost, the traditional just metal edging seems to have the best, or seems to be best for this application. Which, as you can see, it's $1,456 to replace all that edging, as opposed to doing it in stone or something like that. Barbara, do I see your hand? I don't even have your.
You do. Just a quick question on the that sight line from the road to the front of the library with all those sticks sticking up. What have you decided to do there? You were talking about possibly a canopy and then you had mentioned putting trees along the road, but I think we had talked about the salt barrier that, happens every winter when they throw that stuff over the embankment. But any progress on making that a little more aesthetically pleasing as you look at the library?
So we do have trees coming for along Western Avenue, and they're going to be located before the topography starts sloping down too dramatically, but far enough away from Western Ave so that that salt spray hopefully doesn't affect. They are Bartlett pear trees, so they have a pretty good durability. So that was the recommendation from the landscaper for that location. And then we were also going to add some grasses at the end of the island as well to soften that. I think Tim and Lou are gonna attack some of those extra signs that are out at the no parking locations to sort of.
We're gonna sell those to raise money for the renovation.
So we're gonna reduce those, and then we were gonna sort of step back and see what else we need to do.
And have we considered those like the raised beds along there that you could put in the spring certain flowers and marigolds or something in the fall to pretty it up?
Oh, we can certainly do that.
Barbara, we have an opening for a volunteer board member gardener. And we'll give you an unlimited budget.
Now, who
All
used to
the
do,
tools you like.
Who used to do the little garden? I think it was named after a former trustee.
Yeah, by the flagpole?
Yeah, who used to do that?
I don't know. I'd have to ask the great Margaret Garrett on that one.
Because
But-
I thought that some garden club or something helped us with that.
Yeah, we had the Guilderland Garden Club came like now probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And they gave us a bunch of plant recommendations in Latin names, but they didn't want to have anything to do with planting it. So like I was walking around behind them with a notepad trying to write down words I'd never heard before, but they may come back maybe now. Maybe we can convince them to come back now that we have all this landscaping potential. And as you probably remember, the foundation is interested in landscaping the property as well. So.
Right.
I went to a great CE session about nature programming, and they were talking about putting in 5 senses gardens. So you have something that's a very visual, bright flower, and something that has a strong smell like mint, and those soft leaves that you can feel, and something maybe crinkles a lot. I think that'd be great for the kids area.
Oh, that's awesome.
You certainly have a lot of potential in that corner where we started the butterfly garden with those rows of Sharon and some perennials there. You can certainly expand that and really make it spectacular.
So I don't know how much longer we're going, but I think I might go grab my lunch if we're going to be a while longer.
This was the only thing I had to talk about today. So
Okay.
if we're in good shape, and I should just go back and get final quotes on everything so we can make sure we're working towards our budget and get some more information on the sale.
Sounds like a plan.
Works for me.
All right, so are we adjourned for lunch?
May I ask one quick question? Because
Sure.
Jess asked me twice. Do you need me at the next week's board meeting?
And we were going to ask you that question. In other words, do you need to present about anything at the next board meeting?
I don't believe so because we just took care of the evaporative cooler bid. So
I'm good if you take the night off, but Kathy, you would probably be the ultimate authority here.
she is.
Well, if there's nothing that you have, Megan, to inform the board about, I think we
You can
we
skip me.
we won't impose upon you if there's nothing that that you need to let us know.
No, I don't have anything because we already approved the budget for this, and this was sort of the last big open item aside from the evaporative cooler work. So
Okay,
we're winding down. We're trying to get you wrapped up and closed out for the next fiscal year or the next bond cycle with the district.
sounds good. All right. So if
Thank
there's
you,
nothing,
Megan.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, enjoy the
Thank
snowy
you.
afternoon.
all
you.
right, you too. Bye-bye.